Hey, thank you for joining us for this session of the K-12 Blackboard Innovative Teaching Series. The K-12 Blackboard Innovative Teaching Series is designed to help K-12 educators reimagine education with Blackboard teaching and learning solutions. The K-12 BIT series harnesses the power of our K-12 community of academic leaders, teachers, and other experts to provide relevant, real-time, on-demand, and ongoing professional development opportunities for K-12 educators. My name is Katie Gallagher. I'm the Senior Product Marketing Manager for Blackboard's Teaching and Learning Solutions and Products, and will serve as the moderator for the K-12 Blackboard Innovative Teaching Series. Thank you to Colleen Smith from our Central Marketing team, who will be helping answer questions today in the chat. We'll be joining you for the K-12 Blackboard Innovative Teaching Series this fall. We're always open to new ideas for topics for the series, so please let us know if you have any interest in presenting in a future session. You can email me at katie.gallagher@blackboard.com. Each webinar in this series will be recorded. You can search for the K-12 Blackboard Innovative Teaching Series on the Blackboard TV YouTube channel or go to tinyurl.com/bitsK12. You'll receive the recording from this session and the presentation slides through PDF in a few days after the webinar by email. In addition, you'll receive an invitation to participate in a professional learning community online designed to augment the series and create an avenue for ongoing collaboration and dialogue. So please accept this invitation and participate in the new online PLC. As you can see, we have many exciting PD sessions lined up for the fall and into the spring. So please join us also next Monday for Shattering the Myths of Online and Blended Learning with Don Lorsey from NCBPS. You can go to bbb.blackboard.com/K12bits to register for Monday session or any session in the series. And if you haven't done so already, be sure to download the new BBT12 Live App for more PD on demand anytime, anywhere. The best of BB World sessions this summer, as well as the entire K-12 BIT series, is accessible through this app. So we're very pleased to welcome both Jen Curran and Sherry Bell as our presenters today. They will take us through the best of both worlds, a blended co-teaching model. At NCBPS, they have a unique co-teaching blended learning model at the virtual school. Their co-teaching and blended learning model pairs an exceptional children's classroom teacher with an online content teacher. The students work with the online course and the classroom environment, giving students both a classroom teacher and an online teacher who collaboratively plan with a focus on each individual student. We will share the benefits found in our model and the details about its beginning, implementation, and next steps. Jen Curran is the Instructional Director for Credit Recovery, English, and Science at North Carolina Virtual Public School. She's been with NCBPS since 2010 and has served as an online and blended learning teacher, instructional leader, course revisionist, and course development team lead. Jen was the 2013 NCBPS Teacher of the Year and a finalist for the 2013 National Online Teacher of the Year. Sherry Bell joined NCBPS in March of 2012 and is the Race to the Top STEM Project Coordinator and the Director of Blended Occupational Course of Study courses, Exceptional Children 504 programs. She is responsible for quality assurance in online learning courses in order to support the learning of exceptional children taking NCBPS courses in accordance with the virtual STEM model outlined in the Race to the Top grant. Mrs. Bell holds a Bachelor of Arts in Communication Disorders and a Master of Arts in Speech Language Pathology, both from Appalachian State University, and has a license in Exceptional Children's Program Administration in K-12. We are so pleased to have Jen and Sherry share their expertise today. I'd like to turn it over to them and welcome them to the presentation. Thanks to everyone who has joined us today. Just a housekeeping reminder as I pass the controls over to Jen and Sherry. Please use the chat and the Q&A to post questions, comments, and thoughts throughout the presentation. We like to make these as engaging and as interactive as possible, and we definitely like to have your participation. So please use those features, and I'll pass it over to Jen. So Jen and Sherry, you may need to unmute your line.
Hey there, Katie. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Well, thanks for that awesome introduction. Sherry Bell has been trying to get in since 3 o'clock, and she's still trying. So you may see her pop in while I'm talking, and we'll just catch her up when she gets here. But like Katie said, we are from the North Carolina Virtual Public Schools, and we have a very unique model, unique blended model at the North Carolina Virtual Public School that does blend, we feel, the best of both worlds. It blends a traditional classroom model with a classroom teacher in a traditional school setting with an online course and an online teacher. So literally the best of both worlds, and a blended model that gives students 2 teachers. Our blended model does also work with students in the occupational course of study. So you'll see OCS throughout our presentation, and so that is what that refers to. It's our occupational course of study. So those are a group of exceptional students. They are students in our exceptional learning program, and they work with both the online teacher and the exceptional children's teacher who's in their classroom. So who wouldn't like to get 2 teachers at one time? So before we get started, the North Carolina Virtual Public School is a unique organization. So to give you a little background on our school and what a day in the life of an NCVPS student might be like, we have a brief video for you. So I'm going to let Katie push out here.
Okay, and Colleen, can you pass it back to me? All right. Here we go, and I'm going to go on mute so that we can play the video. Be sure you have your audio turned up on your computer so that you can hear the video on your machine, all participants. right, I'm going to pass that back to you, Jen. And Colleen's working with Sherry to try to get her involved back in the room. So here we go.
Okay, thanks. So a little bit about our school, so that you know a little bit about us and where we come from and who we serve. A little history about how our blended learning program came to be. A few years ago, I don't remember the exact year, I believe we started in 2010, the OTS course of study in North Carolina changed. And also with some of the mandates from having a highly qualified teacher in each classroom changed the way some of the classrooms were designed. For example, in the past there was, one exceptional children's teacher that was teaching all the subjects to their class each day. And while if that were me, that would be hard for me to teach science or math because I'm an English person. So things were changed in North Carolina so that in the exceptional children's classrooms, a certified teacher in that content area had to be teaching. So we knew that that was going to really change the way scheduling took place across North Carolina because most schools didn't have that many exceptional children's teachers at the high school level. And they certainly didn't have those certifications in all the core subjects. So our program was developed to kind of fill that gap. And it's also why we have two teachers working within the program, with each class within the program. One exceptional children's teacher at the classroom level, one online content area specialist. The courses are designed with Common Core standards. Our courses are all developed by a team of NCBPS teachers with a team of exceptional children's teachers. So it really is a blending there too of both worlds. That team designs the course that the students will use in the classroom. So for our blended learning model, their coursework is all housed online, though the teachers in the classroom, they bring it to life in different ways. They always have it right there online to go back to or to work within. And all of our courses are grounded in universal design for learning, which sometimes we mention universal design for learning and people haven't heard that before. So what we mean by that is within our courses, we want there to be multiple means of representation. So we want the students to not just see text on a page. That does not engage them in any way. We want students to see the material, hear it, read it, and experience it. So we really want the material to come to life for them. And we know that some students prefer, they prefer to read the material. Some students really get it when they read it and hear it. And some really get it once they interact with it. So we want to meet the needs of all of those types of learners. And in our model, we also have that classroom teacher to bring it to life as well. We also have multiple means of expression. So just like adults, kids like variety. They like choice. They like flexibility. We know that there's not one way that's going to reach every kid. So we try to make sure that students have lots of options within the assignments. We like to make sure that there are many layers so that as a student goes into a lesson, we have options available to help scaffold for that student. And then multiple means of engagement. We really make the best use of relationships in our courses. Our teachers work really, really hard to get to know every student in their online class, because just as in a traditional classroom, those relationships matter. Those connections matter. When you can connect with their learning to what they're excited about already or what's going on in their world, they're going to learn so much more. So we really try to use their interests and what's going on in their lives as they're learning. Our courses are all structured the same way, and we've got you a little snapshot here of how we design and lay out the courses. So when a student goes into a lesson, they'll see these 4 pieces. There's always the lesson material, which we call notes. It goes to a completion activity after the lesson notes, and the completion activities are just early activities that help the students get an interaction with the skill or concept. Often in our blended model, our classroom teachers will use these as the modeling lessons. This might be the activity that they do with the whole class to help them really begin to understand the concept. They then move to our mastery level assignments, and these are the ones that we want the students to really reach. We want them to be building and creating things with their knowledge. And then the remediations, we have these built in for when students need that extra scaffolding, when they didn't get what they needed from the lesson and they need one more piece to fill in the puzzle. So we have those built in. They are not necessarily for every student, they're just there as needed. And every module that we have also has a pre-assessment so that we can see where the students are coming in and individualize the learning through that. And they also have a post-assessment so we can see what did they get from this module and what gaps do we still have to fill. And every time I say we, I'm talking about our co-teaching team, so the online teacher and the classroom teacher. And by all means, if you have questions as I go, let me know. Just to give you an idea about our school, we are greatly growing in our OCS program. NCVPS has other programs outside of OCS, but you'll see that our OCS blended model is quite a chunk of the NCVPS pie to have just started in 2010 and to serve only the exceptional children population in that OCS, that occupational course of study. We have really grown. The enrollments there, those are our enrollment numbers with students, so 1,391 students in Intro to Math. So this has really gone from a pilot program with just a handful of classes to a huge bit of what we do at NCVPS. So what is co-teaching at NCVPS? What is our blended co-teaching model? So this model at NCVPS is online delivery of content. So that course setup that I talked about earlier. It is online delivery of content in Blackboard with an online content area teacher. So we have an English teacher or a math teacher, a science or history teacher online for this course. And we pair them with a classroom exceptional children's teacher and that teacher's live class. And the students literally get the best of both worlds. They get that blended learning content online and the opportunity to do assignments and build and explore what they're learning online and on the computer. But they also get that awesome live instruction in their classroom and the opportunity to be involved and interact with other students in their class. So what we get from that is a very individualized option for students. We also get a lot of reflection from those two teachers, that co-teaching pair. But in the end, we really get to individualize that instruction for every student because we know it's never going to be one size fits all. So co-teaching, we find that it's a partnership in our blended model. In order to get the best of both worlds, a lot of planning is involved. And when I think back to my time as a traditional teacher, as a traditional co-teacher, that planning time usually wasn't there. So we have found a way to build that in and to really make that work with the amount of time teachers have, which is not much. So what our teachers do, our co-teaching pairs in this blended model, at least once per week, they have a live, synchronous, either phone or in a Blackboard collaborate session where they plan for the next week. So they will talk about, you know, what went well, what didn't go well the last week, and then they will plan for the next week. And they also plan each day together. So there's a snapshot of one of their co-teacher planning logs on the screen. And what they do is each day they'll have their lesson plans in for the week, and that's their goal of what they hope to accomplish. But we know in school that might not happen. Sometimes we go off-road. They have their lesson plans in, and then at the end of each day in their class, the classroom teacher, who's in the F2F, the face-to-face teacher comments area there, they will go in and leave some notes about how the class went. So what went well with the lesson, how things were going with the students. You'll notice there's some initials in there. We tried to keep students' names out of here. But this is how we get an inside peek into the student's world through the eyes of that classroom teacher. After the NCBPS content area online teacher goes in and grades for the day and reviews the student's work, that teacher will leave a comment back to the classroom teacher with whatever they've seen from their work and what they may have built or added to help fill in the pieces of the puzzle for the student. So it really is a daily partnership. And we know that each student is unique. We know that every student's going to need something different, but most of all, they want to know that they are heard and that their teachers understand them. And so that is our #1 goal as we work with them in this blended model. So at NCBPS, our teachers operate under 3 instructional pillars. And we find that these are the backbone of our blended learning model and our co-teaching model and our online learning models. They really spread across all of our models at NCBPS. So we have these 3 pillars. The first one is that all of our online teachers will create effective instructional announcements or learning blocks. And I'll speak more to these later. These are really like mini lessons for the day. They might be used to introduce a new topic. They might be used to help motivate or excite students about a new skill or topic, or they might be used to help in an area where they see students are struggling. We also use these to inform students of what might be coming up and also to celebrate what they're doing really well, both in the classroom and outside of it. Our second instructional pillar is that our teachers are going to teach through effective instructional feedback on all assignments. At NCBPS, we have a 24-hour turnaround on our assignments. So any assignment that students submit, it's graded by 24 hours. So if they submit it first period today, it'll be graded before first period tomorrow with effective instructional feedback. And that's our big takeaway there is the power in that feedback. And the third pillar is that our teachers will teach through effective synchronous conversations to build relationships. Our teacher is the magic keeper of the class. Without that teacher and that team of teachers, there wouldn't be much magic. It is that pair of teachers that brings the material to life and makes it engaging for students. And they do that through their effective feedback and their interactions with the kids. So we make sure that all 3 of those pieces are there. So what do we mean by teaching through feedback? There are a lot of blended learning models out there, and ours is very different from most of them because we have the 2 teachers involved, one online and one in the classroom. But we have found that by doing this, we give students double the feedback. They get the feedback from their classroom teacher while they're in the class working, live, and they get that recorded feedback from their online teacher on their assignments in the learning management system. So I love this quote by Fred Miser, and I love it because it totally changes the way I used to view feedback. He says feedback is an objective description of a student's performance intended to guide future performance. Unlike evaluation, which judges performance, feedback is the process of helping our students assess their performance, identify areas where they are right on target, and provide them tips with what they can do in the future to improve in areas that need correcting. So many students see feedback as an evaluation. They see that the notes on their assignment and that grade as an evaluation, it's a judgment of their performance. But we are trying to work to change that mindset. We really want students to see our feedback as that guide to help them as they move forward. So why is feedback important? I love this quote by Robert Marzano, and I love the part that's in bold there. He says the most powerful single modification that enhances achievement is feedback. The simplest prescription for improving education must be dollops of feedback. And this is what we hope our blended model is doing for students. Because they're getting that detailed feedback, personalized for each student on every assignment, and the teachers are planning and working through the course together, that online teacher and that classroom teacher, those students are getting feedback from both wonderful teachers. So they have just wonderful supports in place. They are getting dollops, if not heaps, of feedback. So the last one, I promise I won't throw quotes at you all day. When done in the right way and with the right intentions, feedback communication is the avenue to performance greatness. And we truly look at feedback as a way to communicate with our students. It is that online teacher or that classroom teacher helping the student progress in their learning. So we believe that it should have these things, that it should be specific, it should be directive, it should be connective, the right tone, and timely. I'll go backwards. In specific, we want our teachers to really dig in and tell the students what they did well, and we also want them to dig in and help to fill in the gaps. So where did the students need something that wasn't there? Where did they maybe miss the mark, and how or why, or what could they have done differently? We've come a long way from nice job, this was well done. That is not what we're looking for. We want it to be directive. We want it to tell them what they should do. What do they need to do to master this assignment? We want it to be connective, not only to the students on a personal level, but connective throughout the lessons. How are they linking this learning to previous learning or to future learning? How is this all linked together? Because that's important for the students. We want to make sure it's the right tone. So is it positive? Is it upbeat? Is it encouraging? Nothing is worse than getting feedback that sounds, well, negative. So that is not our goal. We want it to be encouraging to the students. And again, the timely piece. We want them to get that feedback within 24 hours. So we look at our feedback as our reply to our students. It is our response to their work. We want it to be effective with those pieces I spoke about earlier, and positive. We want it to promote learning that's individualized, that's all about that student. So we use this REPLY acronym to help our teachers remember that. So teaching through feedback. Sometimes we get those students who knock it out of the park. Maybe they totally understood it. Well, there have been times that our teachers have started at that first one that didn't really give them a whole lot to move forward. But we have tried to move them to that second level there, where they are not only talking to them about what they did well and what they need to maybe look a little bit more at, but also to provide them with something to help get them there. So in this example, the teacher actually made a recorded lesson to help the student in the gap areas. So teaching through announcements. When I was in in online courses in college, an announcement was, hey, your project is due on Friday. So that's not what we mean by announcements. Our announcements go much further than that. Our announcements will always have 3 pieces. We want to celebrate students, we want to encourage the class, we want to inform them on things they need to know. That might be that your essay is due on Friday. It might be that we have a big break coming up. It might be the end of the grading period is coming. Who knows? But the most important piece there is we want to provide instruction in those announcements. They're a good place to grab the student's attention and give them something to prepare them for that day's work, or to review something that they struggled with the previous day. And we know that teenagers have short attention spans, so we try to do this in a very succinct way. So sometimes our teachers will make cartoons, sometimes they make videos, sometimes it's some other sort of interactive that they've designed, that they will review something with them, and then sometimes, not always, give them something to do. Maybe they message them, maybe they talk with their class or their classroom teacher about something from the announcement. But we always try to bring the learning to life with these announcements. The biggest piece of what makes our blended learning model special is that it really does allow us to individualize learning for every student. Because all of the material is housed in our online course, we always have that there for the students and the classroom teacher to refer back to. So if a student needs to review something from a previous lesson, they just know right where it is. It hasn't disappeared like a lecture might in a traditional class. Maybe your lesson from 2 days ago, students really need to review again, but it's gone. In our model, the material stays there, housed on Blackboard. Sometimes we find that what we have there, they need more. So maybe they've hit a lesson where what we have built for the lesson isn't quite enough for this group of students or one student. So our online teachers, as the content area experts, may go in and add to what is there to build additional instruction. So that is what some of these images are here, different ways that our teachers have added things to help an individual student. In the bottom left there, one of our previous science teachers built a lesson that used sign language to teach a difficult concept, because the sign language helps students remember the organization of the skills. So we really feel that there are a few keys to success in our blended model. One is that effective communication and collaboration with the teachers. A big one is our individualized learning, because we really can get to know and reach every student in this model. And our planning with the co-teachers really does become more about each student and where he or she is in his or her learning than necessarily the whole group. It really does allow us to individualize that learning. Often the students tell us that they feel like they get more one-on-one because they've got the online teacher there responding, sending messages, leaving feedback, and their classroom teacher there. The relationships are huge. The connections between students and their teachers, and the way teachers use students' interest in their learning in traditional classes or blended is going to make all the difference. And we find that to be just as true in our model. And we have some wonderful teachers, some absolutely wonderful teachers. And as I said before, a great teacher can never be replaced. So the magic behind our model are those two teachers partnering together. I am going to pause for a second because I think Sherry is in the room.
I am here. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, I'm going to turn this next part over to Sherry.
Okay, hey everyone. I apologize that I had technical difficulties, but I appreciate being able to access by phone. So I'm going to talk with you a little bit about our NCVPS IEP and 504 guidelines. Jen has shared lots of ways that we try to individualize learning for our students, and a huge population that we definitely are providing accommodations and modifications for are our students who have IEPs or 504 plans. And we have developed a specific set of guidelines in order for us to share with our teachers of students who are taking our OCS courses, but also for our students who are taking our traditional courses on the other side. So if we go to the next slide, I'm going to share a little bit about those accommodations and modifications and supports and services that we have in place to enable our students with disabilities to have success in our courses. So when we look at our courses and we want to make sure that we are reaching all of our students and individualizing learning, we look at, are our courses accessible? And we're always working on this. We're always looking for ways to improve in this area because, you know, we are wanting to reach more and more of those low incidence populations, like our students who have visual impairments and hearing impairments. So we have to look at our accessibility to all courses. Of course, like we said before, our accommodations and modifications is a huge area that we are going to make sure that we are working with the schools and with the students in order to help them to access our courses. And then in our lesson design, I know Jen mentioned to you earlier in the PowerPoint about the universal design for learning principles. So we make sure that our courses are developed based upon those universal design for learning principles. And then, of course, you've heard all about our collaboration and communication and how we truly feel like that's the key to helping our students to be successful, specifically our students with disabilities. So if we go to the next slide, we'll talk a little more in detail about how we look at those specific areas and address those. With accessibility, we do try to be able to offer our courses, you know, in large print. Of course, many of the computers have the capability to do that now anyway. With audio, transcripts, we do provide transcripts to most of our courses. If we do not have that, then we work on trying to get those developed. We have a large population of students with hearing impairments that are accessing our courses right now, and we've been very pleased with the results and what we've been able to provide for them to help them be successful. And then, of course, we always provide animations and videos, other opportunities for students to interact with their courses, and we look at the colors and contrast of those videos to be sure that we're not providing something to someone who has a seizure disorder that would trigger a seizure, or, you know, a student who might be have some vision impairments, that we're helping them with those specific colors and contrast. And then with their modifications and accommodations, we do work with our OCS students and their face-to-face partner teachers. We discuss the accommodations and modifications that might be on their IEP or their 504, and we determine what NCVPS would be responsible for and what the school would be responsible for, because there are some accommodations and modifications that we are not able to provide, like read aloud. You know, we do not have the capability of being in the course live with the student, so we couldn't be responsible for reading that content aloud, but the teacher at the face-to-face school could. Also, some of those computers have the read aloud as well. But the most common accommodations or modifications that we do provide to our students are extended time, you know, the copy of notes, modified assignments, and modified grading. So we're able to work with the students and the parents and the teachers to look at all of those assignments and contents and exams and provide those if they're necessary. And then our module design, we did talk about the UDL principles. We also try to keep in mind the personalized learning, or actually we're calling it individualized learning now for each student when we design our courses and the assignments. We also look at those 3 pillars of learning that Jen mentioned to you earlier, and specifically in the preparation, engagement, and reflections. And then collaboration and communication, that's the most important because we have to be constantly collaborating and communicating with those face-to-face teachers in our OCS courses, communicating with our e-learning advisors on the traditional side, and then other relevant stakeholders, and specifically with our students and parents if they have questions. We also offer a peer tutoring center. Most of our students taking our traditional courses take advantage of this opportunity, but we have lots of students that experience success with this. And then our NCVPS teachers have office hours that they provide to students who may have questions or need some specific individualized learning, and they can go into a Blackboard room and provide that individualized learning if needed. And then slide 23, this has always been one of my very favorite quotes, but we try to make sure that we are treating each student in a very fair way, with making sure that we are accommodating and individualizing learning for every student, that we're not just providing this learning or instruction and just taking it for granted that, well, all students can learn the same way, because we do not believe that that is true. And so I believe we have come to the end of the presentation. I know Jen has presented the bulk of it, and I appreciate that, and I'm sorry to leave her hanging there. But does anyone have any questions for us?
Let's see, now would be a good time to type questions into the chat or the Q&A box. Here's one. I'm just wondering if you have a way to evaluate teacher effectiveness.
We do. I can answer that, and Jen, please feel free to add to it. We have an evaluation rubric. It's called a teacher spot check. We have based that on the North Carolina teacher evaluation standards, but this spot check consists of these instructional pillars that Jen mentioned before. We evaluate our teachers based upon their performance in all of those areas, and we have a rating scale of 1 to 4, with 4 being the most proficient and 1 being well below proficient. And we have instructional leaders for each of our courses in every subject area, and one course may have 5 instructional leaders, and they take, because we have so many teachers in that specific subject area, and so those teachers are responsible for, or those instructional leaders, excuse me, are responsible for a specific number of teachers, and going into their courses and providing that spot check. And so they will rate them based upon their performance in each of those areas, and they'll give them that number rating, and then at the end of that they will have a rating for their overall spot check, plus our instructional leader provides feedback on each of those areas, specifically if they're below proficient in an area, then they coach that teacher. They provide examples of, you know, how they can do a better job in that area, or they'll, you know, take them through a different kind of training for that area. But it's constant feedback and coaching. And then it depends on the experience of the teacher, how many spot checks they will have through the year. If they're a new teacher, certainly they're going to have more. If they're a veteran teacher, they're not going to have as many. But that is what we use, and we definitely rely very heavily on that to determine whether or not our teachers are asked back to teach with us the next semester.
Great, thank you. There are a couple more questions. Are most teachers able to comply with the 24-hour feedback rule and return feedback within this timeline? And also wondering how many students are in each teacher's class?
Yeah, so our teachers, all of our teachers are able to comply with the 24-hour feedback rule. You know, in our traditional courses outside the OCS blended program, in our courses like our AP courses where they may have huge projects or essays, they use reasonable amount of time to get those back. They might need slightly more than 24 hours on those, but they do really aim to make it as fast a turnaround as possible. But in our OCS program, we stick to that 24-hour feedback rule. So Monday through Friday, teachers are making sure that feedback is there within 24 hours. It just becomes a part of their day. You know, I know when I was in the traditional classroom, I had a bag that I would put my students' work in at the end of every day, taking it home to hope to get it graded that night, and I was still carrying it home 3 days later with more assignments in it. So we don't want that to happen for our teachers or our students. So they do have that 24-hour rule on the feedback. And on your question about how many students are in each teacher's class, well, in OCS it really varies because there could be, you know, 1 to 2 students in a course with that partnership, or there could be, you know, 20 students in that course with the partnership. So one of our teachers might have, you know, 3 to 4 groups they're working with. But we look at a class section, so our online teacher working with students as 20 students, if that answers your question.
Yeah, I think that's great. Yes. What other questions do we have?
When I love the earlier question about how do we evaluate our online teachers, you know, we find that there is really no hiding when you teach online. Everything that you've done in that class is archived in there within your course. So when we are doing those spot checks that Sherry was talking about, we really do look at everything from the beginning of the course to the end. So, you know, when a teacher has a spot check in September, it's everything they've done since August. When they get their next one, it's everything they've done since their last spot check. So we really do look at their work every day, not just one snippet in time, which is quite different from what I was used to in traditional world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, great. How, the teachers that are working in the, I'm just going to ask that question here. With the collaboration between, you know, the teacher in the classroom and the online environment, I imagine they're in very close communication. I imagine that it's, you know, not just through, you know, the learning management system or Collab. You know, how often and frequent is their collaboration, and what mediums, you know, or media do they communicate through?
Well, they're supposed to communicate every day in the co-teaching class with their OCS courses. they have what's called a co-teacher documentation log, and they're supposed to go in and document in that log every day. We like for them to have a phone call like at least once a week and talk that way, but they really rely heavily on the planning that they do and the discussions that they have in that co-teacher documentation log. The way we usually see it work is the partner teacher, the face-to-face teacher, should go in at some point at the end of the day and document how the lesson went, give specific examples of what they covered and how students responded. They can provide information if a student has had a specific issue with a concept that was taught, and maybe that student needs a lesson designed just, for individualized learning for that student, then the teacher will document that in there. And then our NCVPS teacher can go at the end of the day and see all those comments in every one of the sections and respond to all those comments. So it's a daily communication log, a daily communication journal.
That's great. Okay. Right. Well, this has been wonderful. I'm not going to call. Yeah, go ahead. When you pass it back to me, I'm not going to call for the end of questions. Keep them coming. Just as we wrap up with the last couple slides. This is not an end to the Q&A by any means. So go ahead, Jen. Sorry.
No, I was just switching to the slide in case someone wanted our email addresses.
That's perfect. Yeah, so these are Jen and Sherry's email addresses, and I think on the first slide we had their Twitter handles as well. Let's see. Oh, Colleen, can you pass it to me? I don't think I can take it back myself. Thank you. So I'm going to do a couple slides to wrap us up, but again, not an end to the Q&A. Please keep them coming. We've had great questions so far today. But just a reminder, this session and the other sessions in this series will be in the BBT12 Live App. And there is another question that's come in before I complete my slides. I want to be sure to address all of the questions here. I'm lost it there in my window. Here we go. It looks like a great model. How many schools are taking advantage of this partnership? And I'll add to that question, Jen and Sherry, are all the schools within the state of North Carolina, or do you work with schools outside North Carolina as well?
I think we were waiting to see which one was going to answer that. For OCS, I'm thinking that we have partnerships. I can't give you the exact number at this point, but I know with NCVPS as a whole, we have, I think partnerships with every district in the state of North Carolina. I'm pretty sure we have at least someone, a school from every district in the state that are taking our courses. With OCS, we're not in every district yet, but we're growing. And we have, with the enrollment numbers, I know there was a slide there that showed our enrollment numbers. We're the second largest enrollment in NCVPS as a whole. So, we're really growing. We do not offer any of our OCS courses to anyone out of the state of North Carolina yet. I know we're always working on partnerships and working on how people, I know that some of our courses are shared with other districts if they're interested in that, but OCS is not at this point because of the co-teaching model.
Great. Okay. So, and additional questions still welcome, certainly, but wanted to very much thank Jen and Sherry for the great presentation today, and wanted to thank everyone for participating in today's session. Just a reminder that we're lining up the spring series, and we'd like to open the invitation to additional presenters, or even if you just have input into what topics you'd like to see. Always excited to have these new and different topics, and Jen shared this is really unique. I'm sure we're going to get a lot of views on our YouTube channel and in the app as well. A lot of times we get more views online than even folks who can attend at a particular time and date for the session. So I know we'll have a lot of interest in this session, and we've had a lot of attendance today too. But please suggest topics for the series, or throw your hat in the ring to be willing to present, because we would like to hear from you. You can reach out to me on Twitter at @1KatieGallagher or by email katie.gallagher@blackboard.com. Everyone will be receiving the recording and slides in a few days, and you'll also get an invitation from me to participate in the online PLC. So please accept it and participate. And again, join us on Monday with Don Lorsey, also from NCVPS, on Shattering the Myths of Online and Blended Learning. Can't thank Jen and Sherry enough for the great presentation.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you.